New storms possible for Vietnam and the Philippines this week on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for July 12th. So the tropics are quiet once again with no active systems, and at the moment no systems with a high chance of development either, although we are monitoring 3 areas of interest across the globe right now. Of course, Beryl is dead now. It died off yesterday, and we will have the track animation for that storm appearing on Sunday. It's day 42 of Atlantic hurricane season, and we've got no current areas of interest, although the National Hurricane Center is still holding on to a near 0% chance for an area of interest that's moving inland over the Carolinas. You may notice already there at the edge of the screen we have now marked the Eastern Pacific area of interest, giving it 10%. Model support is still very flaky at best on day 56 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, a basin that continues to struggle. Well, in the Western Pacific, which is also behind schedule, we still have these 2 areas of interest at 20% and 30% chances. The South China Sea system looks a little bit confusing in that we have a first system moving along and then possibly overtaken by a second system, then maybe a third system after that. So horribly confusing in the South China Sea, but what is sure is that we're probably going to see some heavy rainfall in a few areas. In the North Indian Ocean, we have no areas of interest right now. We've just got a lot of cloud cover over the coast of India, east and west, but primarily towards the eastern side. And in the southwest Indian Ocean, things looking rather quiet here. On the equator, a few little thunderstorms and a little bank of showers further south as well over only oceanic areas. So what's today's feature? Well, it's the AOI that's in the South China Sea that is starting to wrap up into a surface low. Currently 538 kilometers from Toihoa, 628 from Zambales in the Philippines, 678 from Sanya on the southern tip of Hainan, 681 from Da Nang, Vietnam, and 725 from Manila in the Philippines, so pretty much equidistant from all of those land masses right now. System will eventually move towards the northwest and could go on to affect the coast of Vietnam with some strong winds and definitely heavy rainfall. Let's take a look at satellite imagery and radar from around the world. First of all, looking at the east coast of the United States down into the Gulf and Caribbean region, you can see a few little scattered thunderstorms across the whole area there, and we've got a close-up on the mesoscale floater of this area of interest, which is still near 0% chance, producing some convection and storms over the Carolinas and beyond into Virginia. But looking further south there is where the probable center of it would be, completely exposed down towards the south, well offshore at this time, but moving in pretty shortly. Here's some water vapor imagery of this system as well, really looking quite like a daisical. As we watch this system progress northwestwards, it will definitely die off rather quickly when it moves inland. Moving on, a few thunderstorms there off the coast of Mexico, either side actually. We thought we'd bring that to your interest, although nothing tropical about it really. And here's a wide shot of the US East Coast out to the western Atlantic. You can still see what's left of Beryl being strewn along there as a string of cloud now over the North Atlantic. There's the radar imagery showing some significant showers moving up all along the mid-Atlantic coast there into New York shortly as well. And looking now at the Caribbean region, there's just a few little storms here and there, one over Belize, one near Nicaragua, but elsewhere it's looking rather quiet. Also dormant in the eastern Atlantic along the coast of Africa. There is a large area of cloud though over land. I imagine we'll be seeing a significant tropical wave shortly. Eastern Pacific, not too much going on yet either, but we're just looking at that little mass of cloud there towards the south which could develop into that disturbance later on. Here's a view of the Western Pacific, showing some storms over the area as well, over the Philippines primarily, but either side as well. And this is the latest geocolor imagery on the left hand side there, starting to see a little bit of rotation with that low pressure system that's developing in the South China Sea. Keep watching it. It's what we've got there, that 20% chance, because a lot of it is down to uncertainty, and we're giving that 30% chance to whatever disturbance forms further out towards the east, probably associated with that little thing that's just well off the Philippines right now over the Micronesian islands and towards Palau. So eventually that will start to tighten up too, we think. North Indian Ocean, across the Indochina region, a lot of monsoonal showers occurring all across India there and along the west coast as well. Very high amounts of precipitation, I would imagine, along some parts of the coast there. Continuing, here's some radar imagery across China right now. Some significant storms blowing up over that area and a few heading towards southern Japan. Just some incidental stuff here, and also looking towards Europe as well, stealing the UK view here, looking across the coast of the Belgium region and the Netherlands up towards the northeast there, with some significant stormy showers. Well, sea surface temperatures looking like this, getting up towards 30 degrees Celsius in a few spots off the coast of Mexico out over the eastern Pacific Ocean. North Atlantic looking good as well, with some really high temperatures still off the coast of Florida towards Louisiana and outwards towards the Bahamas. The Gulf Stream looking really good there as well, with 28 degrees Celsius waters extending well to the northeast there, and the open Atlantic looking good as well. West Pacific is really baking hot there, with temperatures up towards 32 degrees in a large area there off the Philippines, east and west again off Luzon, through towards Hong Kong and the Gulf of Tonkin. North Indian Ocean also looking decent, with temperatures holding firm at around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius in the Bay of Bengal and in the northern part and eastern part of the Arabian Sea. Looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies, it is well above average still in the areas that count. There is a little cool area now after Beryl in the western part of the Gulf, but still very warm in the Atlantic. Main development region up to 3 degrees above average, East Pac around 2 degrees above, West Pac generally 2 degrees above, but further north in the subtropical zone still extremely warm there as well, 3 to 4 degrees above average in those areas, and that could really mean a lot for places like Japan. Oceanic heat content is also looking very good in that area, Western Pacific. Huge amounts of energy extending into the Ryukyu Islands as well. Eastern Pacific not so much, it has to be said. Looks like it is struggling again at the moment for that oceanic heat content. So systems will struggle a bit, although there's still a few areas there, little pockets, that have higher amounts. Well, the Atlantic is also looking good as well after Beryl still. Still very high amounts of oceanic heat content across the Caribbean Sea and into the Gulf of Mexico through the loop current. So looking like the Atlantic is well and truly open for business. GFS computer model over the next 5 days depicting this system trying to develop in the South China Sea. Then it gets overtaken by another rotation there and finally becomes a tropical storm briefly, making landfall in Vietnam, and then maybe a third rotation starting to appear towards the end of that loop. Look now towards the Philippines, towards that small system that develops near Palau, moving towards the coast of Mindanao. There it is, developing around the 15th, and then rapidly wrapping up and becoming a strong tropical storm as it moves through the Surigao region of northern Mindanao and into the Visayas region. Looking at rainfall expectations over the next 7 days, they are still trending upwards as well. Mainly over the South China Sea, away from the coastline, but still some coastal areas look like they're going to get some very high amounts of rainfall, up towards 500 millimeters in quite a few spots. Coast of Vietnam as well, getting up between 400 and 500 millimeters, and along the western islands of the Philippines around 400 millimeters as well. But look at some of those amounts offshore, up towards 1,000 millimeters to the northwest of Palawan and towards the eastern part of the Philippines there, where that system might end up 350 millimeters. In the medium range, day 5 to 10, we continue to watch this area, and after that first storm moves to the Philippines, the second one decides it will form off the northeastern part of Luzon, then a third system in the South China Sea, and then a fourth system out over the Western Pacific proper. So all becoming more tropical cyclones, another one for the South China Sea, a large one, and then we eventually get 2 typhoons moving up through the Western Pacific there, one off the coast of Taiwan, one heading towards Japan, and becoming pretty strong storms there as well. scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request at any time. And our Still Waiting for Hone t-shirt is still available because that name is still up for grabs as well. And it's not going to change in the Scilly range. Day 10 to 16, we're looking at the potential formation of an Eastern Pacific system here. It's not the current one that's tagged, it's one that will be forming after that, by quite some way actually, becoming a substantial storm, quite small, a hurricane there actually towards the end, but it is moving out to sea towards the west, so it really is a rather dismal start to the Eastern Pacific hurricane season so far, and it looks like that trend is set to continue as we proceed. This is nearly the end of July now on that model run, and we're only just getting our first hurricane. Western Pacific then, that strong tropical storm into China and Vietnam. Then we've got this typhoon, strong typhoon, category 2 or 3 even, into Japan. And then another one in the East China Sea, category 3, up near the coast of China there, up towards those northern areas that rarely get hit by typhoons. So looking at some significant impacts here from a double whammy of storms, if this model run is to be believed. But we've seen all kinds of scenarios like this on the GFS in the last week or so. So really keep your ears close to the ground on that one, because things could escalate rapidly. Well, on this day, it was July 12, 1996, when we had the landfall of Hurricane Bertha, a strong Category 2, which was really held up as one of the early season strong examples as well. Beryl joining that company well and truly. We've got the remnants of Dan, which had moved through Japan there, and 7W, which would end up becoming Super Typhoon Eve, a Category 5 in the Western Pacific, and a very small one at that for Westpac standards. We also had a little surprise down south, Tropical Cyclone Lindsay, a tropical storm in the southeast Indian Ocean. Wow, well, back to today then. We are unclassified. We've not got any real causes of concern right now. The next name in the Atlantic naming list is Debbie. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Bud. And in the Central Pacific, we are indeed still waiting for that Hone. In the Western Pacific, we might be getting closer to our next named storm. It's Gamey, followed by that it's Prapparoon, and in the North Indian Ocean it will be Asna. 24 storms so far this year. Beryl really brought up the ace. We came to the conclusion that it produced 35.6 ace units. In the Australian region, the next name is Robin. Southwest Indian Ocean, Ansha starts us off, and in the South Pacific, the next name is Pitta. That's it from today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow. Become an Ultimate Fan today.